Thank you, Abraham. I understand your entities manifesting through Esther.
Wait.
I had always...
Wait. Let's consider that in light of what we now know. We are who?
Entities, vibrational beings.
So are we asserting through Esther? Or did Esther bring her vibration to the frequency that is us, so that she allowed enough of a blending between the two vibrational perspectives that she can express what we know? It's a little different way of looking at it,
yes.
Isn't it? Sort of like the basketball player who's in the zone. Pretty amazing. The musician tuned in to who he really is. The artist, in other words, we're just wanting to leave behind the weirdness of entity.
Other beingness. I have always wanted to perhaps experience something like that. I have never. 2 years ago, my life started breaking down emotionally and financially. And I hadn't told anyone.
We're just going to interrupt you until we make you crazy, but play with us because it will go really well. Your life didn't start breaking down 2 years ago.
It felt like
there was it was resistance going on until it reached a sort of critical
breaking
mass,
point, yes.
so to speak, where it began manifesting in a more dramatic way. But contrast is always manageable, no matter what.
Yes, I understand that now. After I told my sister had felt very sick around that time, and then after I told her, she told me that
after you told her what?
Of the way I was, the way my finances and my emotions were, my relationships and the like. She told me that she felt sure that the sickness she had felt was manifested to her because of what was happening to me, because she was having dreams of dead relatives were coming to her, telling her that I was in trouble, that I was emotionally in trouble, and she just didn't pay attention to it. I had another friend who contacted a person in another country who is a channeler, and he also told me, I had never met him, he does not accept pay because he says it interrupts his spirituality. He also told me that he contacted a spirit which I took to be my maternal grandmother. He told me her name, both of her names, and how she was, and that she said that she was going to be there by me, and she said it in a very distinct way, which sounded like the way she spoke. And then, just by a casual accident, I met a person, a cousin of mine. I'm not that close to her, but she was having a soiree, and this person looked at me and said she had a feeling. She directed me, if I would, to go to the beach and directly talk to God, ask for protection, and then go to a park or a green space and run around as if I were little children. And she told me I would immediately feel something. I knew something was there. So
now before you go further, let us just give you our version of what you've just said. So, for whatever reason, and it's all right, whatever it was, you were focused in a pattern of resistance. And the more you do that, the greater gap. In other words, the more you know what you don't want, the more you know what you do want, and the larger part of you becomes it. And when you hold yourself apart from this, then this greater distance is translated into greater distress for you. To the point that others outside the vortex,
yes,
who focused upon you could pick up on the same vibrational wavelength of that. So they were tuning in to this powerful broadcast that you were broadcasting. Then someone said to you, go run on the beach and play like a child, which was a wonderful way of distracting you in the moment from the resistance. And when you have powerful wanting and you distract yourself from resistance, sometimes you can have this very fast moving into the vortex. Is that what happened?
Yes, I did feel something. It was something very definite, something that came to me very meaningful. I tried to explain it, rationalize it that way. There's really almost nothing except that something did happen. It was something actually happened physically. I'm very thankful for it.
Well, because you have no platform to explain it. To that point in your life, you had no way of defining what it's like for you to be vibrationally out of sorts with who you are. And so someone very wise, and you very wise in following it, gave you some information that would cause you to distract yourself from the thoughts and the vibrations that were holding you apart from who you were, so that you could have a momentary alignment with who you are, which gave you a reason to feel hopeful that things could get better.
Yes.
In other words, this is what we're saying to all of you. When you know this stuff and you're walking around knowing it, then you can be advantage to others who are wanting to know it, but they have no framework in which to understand it. Yes. Excellent.
And I am, again, very thankful. And
before you go further, can you see how much more beneficial your story can be to others if you were to tell the whole story now? In other words, you could say, I was focused upon unwanted things like a lot of people are, not realizing that I was holding myself apart from the improved version that I'd already given birth to. And my desire was so strong that my discord was powerful enough that I was broadcasting my discord to the boundaries of the universe, so much so that other people who love me were picking up on it. In other words, don't you think that's a powerful story? Other people equally discordant in their vibration were actually able to tap into the frequency of my discord. But in all of that, my asking remained strong until I attracted the information that led me into the vortex. In other words, it's another way of telling the story that someone else may be able to benefit from.
Again, I feel much better. If there's one thing that keeping me from the vortex, I feel I'm a very impatient person. I'm not.
Well, you know why though? You see, impatience is something that we get why we want to give this to you, because you're not hearing us completely as we're trying to guide you through the details of your own story. When you know what you don't want, which causes you to put this vibration of what you do want into your vortex, if you don't go, it feels uncomfortable. If you keep thinking the thoughts you've been thinking, instead of finding a way of being who you really are, it feels uncomfortable. Now what happens is, in the discomfort, you really know what you don't want. So you really know what you do want. So now the spread is even wider. And that impatience that you are describing, you're not impatient. You are sensitive to the discord of your own vibrational frequencies. That's a much better way of saying it. If we were sitting in your physical shoes, we would say, instead of Abraham, I'm impatient, we would say, Abraham, I focus on what I don't want. And apparently, a version of what I do want takes full form. But I don't focus on what I do want. I keep focusing on what I don't want. So I hold myself in resistance to my own expansion. And I got to tell you, Abraham, it doesn't feel very good. I think the label I would give it is impatience. That's all it is. You're sensitive to your own vibrational gap. And you have the good fortune of remembering a moment in time when your impatience was far more than impatience. You were just about out of your mind with your discord. And even with that severe discord, you ran and played on the beach and distracted yourself and went right into your vortex and felt the release of all that resistance, didn't you? So isn't it possible to do that at any time?
Yes,
We don't want to teach you patience. We want to teach you to be in the vortex. Only a person who hangs around consistently outside the vortex needs to be patient.
I still feel I'm not too sure the way I should go, or how do I read? What I want to say, if there is someone behind me, if there's a guardian angel or whatever.
Well, it's not like that. You can call it your guardian angel.
Yes,
it's your
let's
inner
call
being.
it that way.
It is a cadre of source energy that is bigger than we can describe. It is far more than a guardian angel. It is all that you have become and all that is in harmony with that. You know how all those people were picking up on your discord? That was that vortex of out of the vortex discordant partnerships. You know what's in your vortex of creation? The energy that creates worlds, the well-being of all that is. It's huge, and it's always there for you. But you have to move into the vortex. It can't come to where you are, because if it came to where you are, it would be out of the vortex too. You have to do all the moving, you see. It's your releasing of resistance that gives you the relief.
My question, I guess, is how do I read that? I mean, I can just lay behind and I say to myself, just wait and wait and wait. And yet
When we say to yourself, wait and reach for a better feeling thought. Wait and reach for a better feeling thought. In other words, you can wait for the whole of your lifetime in your wad of impatience, and it will never come. You got to find some way of releasing the impatience before it will come. And the way you release the impatience is by replacing it with something else. So, obvious, release impatience by being patient. Well, that's a lot easier said than done. In other words, that's like saying just don't think that thought. Well, choose another thought that feels a little less impatient. In other words, we would tell this story. I was in big trouble. I could feel it emotionally, and other people who loved me could feel it too. And then I was wise enough to hear a piece of information that got me spinning on the beach. And somehow I lost track of my problem enough that I was drawn in to the bosom of well-being, and I felt it and knew it momentarily. But it didn't last very long, because I took my logical mind and I talked myself right back out of the vortex again.
It's true. I keep trying to apply logic.
Let us give you some. Did you hear us when we were mocking you all?
Yes.
As we were talking about, no matter how hard you try from outside the vortex, it just makes you more impatient. In other words, who writes this stuff? But when you find something in which you felt relief, and you focus upon that relief, now you're off and running.